this is Michael William Denny of ThunderShamanism.com, and so since we're coming up on Halloween, I want to share with you some stories and some teachings regarding demon possession. So I am going to be sharing with you some stories and based on my personal experience, and they are going to be entertaining, but I'm also going to be teaching you about what demon possession really is, because very few people know what it is. So let me just be clear. Again, maybe you're coming onto my channel for the first time, but I never teach anything just because somebody told it to me or I read it in a book or, anything like that. My spiritual path is based on personal experiences, things that I have proven to myself. Lots of my the things that I teach are things that I've created myself, techniques I've created myself based on what works. So I'm going to be sharing with you some real experiences about demon possession that I experienced, and I'm going to be sharing with you in some other videos. I think I'm probably going to do at least two videos about this, because I'm going to tell you exactly what demons are. I'm going to tell you exactly what demon possession is. And let me answer your first question, which is that no, you don't need to worry about it. And I'm going to share with you the tools and the keys to what that is to prevent you from ever experiencing this in your life. So let's go ahead and get started with the story. So this is a true story. As I said, I have personal experience with this subject of demon possession. And when I was a young man, in fact, I was a kid, I was still in high school, I performed my first exorcism. Now, I was about to launch into, without any conscious intention, I was about to launch into a career, if you will, as an exorcist for the next few years. And then I eventually chose to stop doing that, and I'll explain why in the second video, why I chose to stop doing it. But let's just get right to the story. So it was, I grew up in Southern California in a town that was on a cliff overlooking the ocean. And this is going to sound like it came straight out of your typical, stereotypical Halloween story, but it's all true. I think I was 16 years old, and me and my friend, he was staying over at my house, and it was a Friday night and whatever, and so we were going to walk down to the cliffs, and we were going to look at the ocean, and that kind of stuff, just kind of walk around. So there was an old church. Again, I told you, very stereotypical story. There was an old church that was built on the side of the cliff overlooking the ocean, right? We find out, I found out years later, interestingly enough, that it was built on top of Native American burial ground. Again, stereotypical. But it's all true. There's a reason why these stereotypes exist, because there's some truth in it. So we get there and we start walking around. I think we had skateboards when we were skateboarding around or whatever it was that we were doing. And it sounded like there was some kind of a party or a function going on inside of the church. Now, the church was an old mansion. Told you it was stereotypical. It was an old mansion that was built in the 20s that later had been turned into a church, and to this day it's still used as a church. And it had these two big wooden doors, double doors on the front. Again, so stereotypical. We're skating around and we hear what sounds like a party going on or a function or something. Lights are going on and off, and we can hear people, and but we can't hear what they're saying or what they're doing. There's just a lot of activity going on in there. So it's strange because there's no cars anywhere. We know that it's closed. We know that nobody's supposed to be there. Nobody's working there. And so we were a little freaked out. So my friend goes up to these big wooden double doors, and I'm looking at him from the side, directly from the side, and I'm kind of scared. I don't know what to expect, and he goes to listen to the door, and he does one of these things where he's going to listen, right? And he gets what looks like I don't know, just a couple of inches away from the door. And as he gets right up to the door, what it looked like was that somebody from the inside went and just bumped up against the door, because the two double doors went like that from the inside, like somebody was trying to push their way out. And he froze. I took off, ran. I ran as fast as I could. And I'm thinking he's right behind me, because I didn't know what that was. Somebody was opening the door. We weren't supposed to be there, whatever it was. And I look back, and he's in the exact same spot. The door had not opened, and he had not moved. He was in that same spot that I left him in, frozen. I didn't even know if he was alive. He was like frozen completely still, like a block of ice. So I go back over there, and I'm like, ha ha ha, yeah, very funny. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Yeah, and then he's not moving. I can't even tell if he's breathing. And after what seems like a few minutes of me going, ha ha, very funny, come on, let's go, man, let's go, nothing. He doesn't move. And I start to get really worried. And I sit down, and I'm looking at him, and I don't know what to do. And he's still not moving. And the light, the moonlight is hitting him, and the shadow on the ground, and I can see, it's just, you know, all this creepy, weird stuff. And he finally comes out of it. And he catches his breath, and he has to sit down. And I go over to him, and he's sweating, and he's clammy, and he's pale, and he's sweating, and he's breathing really hard, and it was scary. I don't remember what we said at that moment, but I remember I said, "Come on, let's go. Let's get out of here." So we start walking back to my house, and as we get closer and closer to my house, we keep walking. He gets stranger and stranger, and he starts saying very strange, weird things, and he's not sounding like he's not making any sense. It was getting really creepy, and he was talking about the voice inside of him that was telling him to do things, and telling him to do things like jump off the cliff, and telling him to push me off the cliff. And you know, he's getting really weird, and I'm starting to like give him a hard time, because I'm like, I don't want to believe this is happening. And he's getting really mad, and he says, "Don't talk like that. I'm telling you, you can't mess with this," you know, whatever it was that was inside of him. So we get back to my house. Now, I had grown up as a born-again Christian. At that point in time, I wasn't, you know, a major church-going guy, but I had grown up as a born-again Christian. I'd read all the stories, and you know, about Jesus casting out demons, and you know, Protestant, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, in the Protestant tradition, our lay people can cast out demons. You don't have to go to a priest. You know, that's Catholic. But Protestant tradition, anybody can do it. So I was aware of what it was and what the process was and all of that. So I decided I was going to perform an exorcism on this guy. Now, I don't know where I got the idea that I could do that. You know, maybe that's just part of my character. You know, I don't like bullies, and something was bullying this guy, and I didn't like that. So I decided I was going to perform an exorcism on him. So, you know, he was lying down on the bed, you know, sitting up against the back of the headboard, and again, it was like there was some kind of knowledge that I had, or something was guiding me. I don't know what, but I looked at him, and I looked into his eyes, and I said, "I'm looking into your eyes, through your eyes, into the eyes of the demon inside of you." And then I started talking directly to that, and you know, praying. And as soon as I started doing that, he slumped forward. And I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was praying too. So I just kept on praying, and I kept on, you know, in Jesus' name, this, you know, all the kind of stuff that they teach you to do in church. And, you know, he slumped forward like this, and I can't really see his face, but he starts breathing really erratically, and he starts shaking, and he starts growling. He's like, and I didn't know what was happening. I thought he was afraid. So I reached over to put my hand on his chest, because what I was going to say to him was, "Hey, relax, it's okay, you're safe, it's just me." And as my hand is approaching his chest, his head comes up, woo, like that. And I am not kidding you. What I saw was his face had turned completely white. Now, I'm not talking like white like all the blood is gone and he's pale. I'm talking it's white like alabaster, like plaster, like marble. It's white. And his eyes are 100% red. I'm not talking red like it's bloodshot. I mean, we're talking about there's no pupil there. There's no white part. It's completely just blood red, one color. And he's looking up at me as I'm about to put my hand on his chest, and he's going, you know, just, I think about it now, it seems really freaky. At the time, I was just acting on instinct. I put my hand on his chest, boom, and I start, in Jesus' name, Satan, I command you to leave, you know, the whole thing that you're taught in, you know, in church. And he's trying to back away from my hand like it's burning him. Again, just like in the movies, you know, and so then, you know, this goes on for not very long, and then he slumps forward again, and then I start praying and, you know, whatever, doing whatever it was that I was doing. And then I see him, he finally raises his head up again, and his face is completely back to normal. Now, this next part may sound weird to you, but, you know, these are the kinds of things that you don't see in movies. But, you know, he raised his head up and looked at me, and I saw that he was back to normal again, and I saw this relief on his face, and we both started laughing. I think it's because the relief, the intensity of it was just so scary and so intense, and for things to get back to normal. It's like when you're in a scary movie and something happens and then you laugh. You ever been in those movies and people laugh right after the monster jumps out because everybody screamed because they caught themselves off guard? I think part of it was that whatever other beings that were there that were helping the process were trying to lighten the scenario and get us back, you know, feeling happy and comfortable again. And then I asked him what happened. And he said that when I started praying for him, that he felt himself falling backwards in what he called this hot wave. And he rolled backwards until he landed in this very cold, like it was like a cold, dark cave, and there was water everywhere, and it was cold and dark, and he looked up and he could see like this light up at the top, and he could barely hear me. It was like I was far away, and he could hear me whatever it was that I was saying and doing. And then that went on for a little while, and then he felt himself rolling forward again in what he calls this hot wave, and then he gets, you know, to the top, and he opens his eyes, and there I am looking at him, and he was just so relieved to see me that, you know, that's what I told you about. We started laughing. So this is a true story. This actually happened. Now, as I said, this started a career of me, you know, into my early 20s as a young man, and I went on, in case you don't know my history, I went on to become a minister, and I went to Bible school and, you know, all that other stuff, and I was going to become a minister, and actually I was going to become an evangelist and all that. And for the first few years, I would show up somewhere. I mean, this wasn't something I chose to do. Trust me, this work wasn't any fun. But I'd show up somewhere at a church or somebody's house or something, and sure enough, there'd be somebody there possessed. I'd have people walk up to me whom I did not know, walk up to me on the street and say, there's somebody inside of me, I know that you can help. You know, and the whole thing, you know, the whole thing, man, people like rolling around on the ground and frothing, and, you know, the change of personality, you know, they physically change, the vomiting, the trying to bite themselves, smashing their heads on the ground, and all kinds of stuff that you see, you know, out of the movies. Everything short of, you know, their head spinning around, you know, the demon possession is like that. And I'll explain to you what I learned, because as I said, I came to the conclusion that I didn't want to do this work anymore. And I learned something very significant about what demon possession really is, and what you can do to prevent it. So I'm going to stop for right now for here, and you know, you can go ahead and watch the second video. So listen, I'm going to start doing more videos. And I really want to start building up this channel again. I really want to start giving out more information and more teaching. So go ahead, you can support the channel I think the little thing is right here. You can support the channel. Subscribe, like, comment, get your friends to watch this channel. Let's get this information out here. My job is here to teach, and I want to do that. And this is the best way that I can reach as many people as possible. So that's all for now. Stay tuned for the second installment on demon possession, and I'll tell you what demons really are. They're not what you think, and what you can do to prevent it. So until then.